Hey, good morning, everyone. My name's Chris. I'm a web developer on the creative team for Duo with Rik. Great talks all around this morning. I have a question about finding balance. So I'm fortunate enough to have a loving, supportive family, a fulfilling career that directly informs my personal creative endeavors, and pet projects that are super exciting. So I've done the I'll sleep when I'm dead thing for a really, really long time. And for me, the sleep deprivation just seems to trigger this like emotional imbalance that I'm always kind of privately burying or struggling with. And like, I feel like I get to do everything that I love and I do it well, but some aspect of trying to fire on all cylinders across all those things is just driving me crazy. So how do you all find balance in your lives between your careers, your passion projects, your families, if you have kids or partners?
All right, I'll take a go at that one. So for me, what I've done to find balance is I have to proactively put it in my schedule. And I know it sounds silly that we can't just achieve it, but at least for me, I've had to say, for instance, it says on the bottom of my email signature, when I send a business email, it says, I do not do meetings before 9 a.m. That's my personal time, where in the morning I can go for a walk, I can work out. It's my time to make sure I get a healthy breakfast in to start my day. So I have to proactively protect my time because no one else is going to do that for you. People will take your time if you will give it to them. So that's one thing. And then the other thing for me in finding balance is just making sure that I do some of those things that I was talking about in my talk today about passion that help my emotional side, so that while I'm working and I'm doing things that are using my intellectual side of me, I'm also doing things that help the emotional, soulful side of me. So that can be like taking a break, every 2 or 3 hours, and I just turn on the music, kind of dance around in my room, and just get a little bit of a break to kind of feed my soul.
For me, it's it's kind of combining my professional and personal projects, and it's constantly learning and challenging myself. So if I'm doing video stuff for like a personal side project, I want to try some new technology, new camera or new software, and try to intertwine it with my professional stuff and my career stuff. So that's really a good balance of, I kind of can justify doing things on the side because I'm learning something new and I could bring it to the table with the rest of the creative team. And so I've been kind of getting better at that, and as well as like scheduling a lot of the personal family time in my calendar, which I didn't always do. I always just kind of kept it as like professional stuff, but scheduling in a calendar like my family life is actually really helpful.
So great question. I once heard somebody give a talk, and everybody always talks about work-life balance. And the speaker that I had heard talked about, it's just life, right? That you're not separating one from the other, and I really never knew how to describe it for myself, but it wasn't, it's not always operating on all cylinders. It's just life, and you do what you love. You're spending time with your family, with your dog. So for me, it's just this constant balance.
So my approach to that is to first determine your highest values, figure out what your top 3 are, set 7 action items each day that move you towards fulfilling those values, and delegate the rest.
Can I add something? Just building on that point. One thing that I learned while I was at P&G from a mentor is that you can only ever really do 3 or 4 things good at one time. And that was a really important lesson for me, and I've gone back to that. I actually do it every year for my New Year's resolutions, is I figure out what are my top 3 priorities for the year. And sometimes that means that you have to deprioritize things that are still important to you. So for instance, one year it was I wanted to be a good employee, I wanted to be a good aunt, because I had just gotten a new little nephew, and I wanted to be someone who was impactful in the community. Not on that list was being a good daughter, being a good girlfriend, right? A myriad of other things. And then that changed the following year when I reprioritized. And that, I think, gives you permission to say no to things and can help you find that balance so you focus on the highest priorities.
Hi, I'm Tanya, and to some degree, each of you spoke about your work prior to finding your happy, passionate spot. And I wanted to know how important it was for you to do that work, that unfulfilling, that unsatisfactory, maybe the work that's not the right fit, before you could get to your passion. So in other words, could you have just skipped straight to your passion without the lessons learned from that other work?
Hell no. Nope. Needed to struggle and suffer. And the pain, as I alluded to, the pain needed to be bad enough for me to have the drive and literally fire to move in a different direction. I'm actually incredibly grateful to all of the people that I worked with, all of the people that laid me off, all of the problems that I had, because it led me here. I would not be here without them. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, for me, I think I also had to go through that as well, because it's not like, at least in my process, I didn't have a big aha moment of, oh my God, this is what I should be doing. It was, for me, a process of elimination. So for me, it's really about putting myself out there, trying new things. Some things I'll love, some things I'll hate, but that to me is a really important part of the process of figuring out how to get where I want to be.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I kind of explained in the slides, like I kind of had to do a personal audit of what was bothering me. And when I started to list it out, just trying to figure out how to get around it while, keeping my artistic integrity intact. So, yeah, I think just kind of listing out some of the things that needs to be changed is really helpful.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, it was always important to me to find the balance of all the different things that I did. So I loved summer camp, I loved medicine, I loved the tech. And I don't know if I would be as fulfilled if I just did one. So working through all of those things and finding the way to make the combination of them has been awesome.
So first of all, I'd like to say I appreciate you guys sharing your stories and everything that you're doing. Hi, I'm over here. Hello. I get to ask a second question. This intermittent, I feel very special. So I first would like to stress that I really appreciate these stories and the lessons that you're sharing. I feel like a big theme is frequently we are in our own way and we don't realize it. But I also wanted to ask you guys a question about whether or not you'd be comfortable maybe reimagining these narratives in a way that hopefully wouldn't diminish those lessons, but come back to the theme from the presentation at Holmes Elementary yesterday about how divisions can make people feel invisible. Because I feel like even though these stories are amazing testaments to passion and work and devotion, there's these unmentioned or slightly mentioned underpinning scaffoldings of different kinds of privilege, like whether it's the privilege to be healthy enough to be able to go with 4 hours of sleep, or, I mean, for some people, even getting some quiet time to reflect isn't possible if you're living in a small apartment with a big family or if you're taking care of sick relatives. And so in some ways, even though I felt really inspired, in some ways it also felt a little frustrating to sometimes hear things like, well, if I could do this, there's no reason you can't do it. Because I could think about all the different reasons sometimes people can't do it that aren't their fault. And I think in this society, it's easy to feel like, well, to see that and say like, yeah, if they can do it, why can't I? I just must be awful. And it can be hard to acknowledge that, no, there's racism or sexism or chronic health problems or poverty that are in my way. So like I said, I'm not diminishing the amazing things you guys brought to the table today, but I was wondering if you could imagine maybe tweaking those narratives in a way that you felt like would still get the passion and message you want to get across, but maybe give a nod to, hey guys, it might not be your fault if you aren't able to just jump in and tackle this. I hope that makes sense.
So I absolutely agree, and hey, right, no doubt that there was certain privileges in my life that allowed me to go to the University of Michigan and medical school and residency, right, growing up in a middle class, upper middle class neighborhood, there's no doubt. I think the core of these lessons is really, it doesn't have to be necessarily to the scale that some of us have done things, but really just about what you're passionate about. It could be something small, it could be just something that you do in a single day. It doesn't have to be a lifetime or a career, but it's really just about doing what you're passionate about and making the time. And again, that may be 4 hours of sleep, that may be 10 hours of sleep, but just doing what you're really passionate about, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had the benefit of, like I said in my presentation, having a family that worked extremely hard to provide a stable environment to enable me to go to college without massive debt, to live a relatively sheltered and privileged youth. So absolutely. We're talking about big things, but all of us started in a really small way. Everything we did, I feel like I can speak for everyone on the panel in saying nobody was just like, I'm changing my life tomorrow. It's all going to turn around immediately. We were all working really baby steps towards getting there, even if those weren't obvious until a cataclysmic moment like my own. But I think we're all deliberately working a little bit every day, and I think ultimately we all have different shit. Everyone does, and not to diminish anyone else's stuff, but at the end of the day, it comes down to mindset, and that's what it comes down to for me. What's my mindset going to be in the face of all of this BS, right?
Hello, my name is Frank, right here. And my question is for the entire panel. Oftentimes what I tell my kids, whether it's kids that I'm coaching or my own kids, to motivate them is that if it were easy, everybody would do it, all right? So during my brief stint in entrepreneurship, oftentimes doubt crept in. And ultimately, I think it won, because I'm back in corporate America, which is not a bad thing, working at Duo, by the way. But, yeah, ultimately, I think it won, because I doubted myself a lot. I did enjoy what I was doing. But I wanted to find out, like, how did you, I'm sure you probably faced that at some point. So I wanted to find out, how did you kind of kick through that wall or kind of, keep it moving, so to speak, to get past that?
Yeah, I actually had a moment in year 3 of starting my business where I got very close to throwing in the towel. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, so I went home to spend more time with them. And because of that, my business suffered substantially because I was a one-woman show at the time. So if I wasn't working, there was no money coming in. And I made $16,000 that year. So it was a really tough year. Things were really, really tight. And I started asking myself, why the heck would I leave corporate America, a good salary, a salary that I didn't have to really worry about, right? Go into work, do my thing, and I will get paid, and then I don't have all these extra worries. So I actually did think about throwing in the towel, but then I went back to my journey. And I had to think about why I was here and why I was doing what I was doing. And again, it went back to this idea of the struggle zone. Like, I didn't want to be in that struggle zone again where I didn't feel like I was passionate or purposeful in what I was doing. And so because I was passionate and purposeful with starting Ability to Engage, that got me through it. And it really, it really comes down to grit, I think, of knowing that you just have to keep working through things. You are going to have times that are hard when you're an entrepreneur, and I think just preparing yourself for that and not thinking that it's always going to be easy and rosy can help you get through some of those tough times.
So for me, actually, before I started my video production company, I was working as a designer, and I remember I was filming videos like, on the weekends and stuff like that, and we had won a music video award, and one of my coworkers said a thank you, like a mass email to everyone, and then I remember, like at the end of the day, I basically got fired. Like they said, they let me go. And I kind of thought it was kind of weird. I thought it was sort of like a little throwing shade at like doing something outside of work, and that's when I kind of knew, okay, I guess I got to make some changes and pivot to something else. But I thought, I had to kind of, to become an entrepreneur, I had to like get a bunch of money or, go and live with my parents or, you know what I mean? Like, so it was sort of like this weird, just getting forced to become one. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's times of struggle. I think one of the things that's maybe challenging for all of us up here is telling the whole story in 15, 20 minutes. So, right, my story of this creating this electronic medical record system started back in 2002. So this was a 15-year journey. It wasn't all easy. Most of it wasn't easy. And yeah, there were times of doubt. But when you saw those glimmers of hope or the excitement or the things that did work, that's what kept propelling me forward.
When I got started, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I started to write down the benefits of what I could offer to the world by doing this work. I wrote down 250 benefits to how what I was doing could impact other people until my certainty was greater than my doubt. And I continue to write those down any time that I feel uncertain or unsure. I keep writing more benefits until I realize I'm on the path that I'm meant to be on.
Hi there. My name's Caitlin, and your talks really resonated with me because I'm actually, sorry if I get emotional, resigning from a job next week. I'm a teacher, and I've struggled the past couple of years with my job. And I want to persevere, but it's hard because I'm making, in my head, a selfish decision because I will be hurting hundreds of young people because they're going to be struggling to find a new teacher to fill my position. So my question is, what is your advice to persevering to get to this passionate spot, to be able to do what you're doing when you are, in fact, hurting other people to get there?
Well, first of all, congratulations on doing something very scary. I would first challenge you to say that you have a perception that you're hurting other people, and that perception is false. They will find a way out. They will find a path forward without you. Please know that. They will be fine. As was mentioned in an earlier talk, unless you fill your own cup and allow it to overflow, how can you give anything to the world? So you're not being selfish. You're doing what you need to do.
So this actually resonates pretty personally with me as well. My wife is a teacher and is in a very similar situation and just announced is resigning from her job at a school here in Ann Arbor because it has been so difficult, has been so challenging. So next week is her last week as well. So these have been conversations we've had at home one-on-one every day about what's next, and she is really nervous right now. But just knowing that she has the support of me and her family and friends is what gets her out of bed still every day. But yeah, she's been in a really difficult spot over the last few months and is ready for a change. And she hasn't decided yet whether that is going to be going back into teaching in a different school, a different environment, or a total change in career. And that's something we're working on.
So first of all, congratulations. It's a really big step. And what was your name?
Caitlin?
Caitlin, do you, girl. This is such an important step that you're taking. I think the first step is awareness. So you know that you need to make a change, and that's critically important to getting onto the right path. And I would just encourage you to think about opportunity instead of the closed door, right? I love, there's a saying that says when one door closes, another opens. So you are actually moving into something new, expansive, that's going to make your cup runneth over. So I would just encourage you to think about all of the opportunities that are coming your way and how great you can be in your new role when you are full and your cup is running over.
What they all said, I agree with.
Hi, thank you. And I love you, bitch. Yeah, great, very inspirational talks, so thank you. And some of you found your passion doing some soul searching. Some of you found your passion through accidental encounter. And for me, I kept trying new things. Like every year, I'm enjoying different things. Like last year, I was dancing kizomba, and this year I'm doing archery. Okay, all those new things. Every year, it's just different, and everything makes me happy for 1 year. 1 year. It's a struggle. So my question is, by trying different things or encountering different things, how do you know that you found that thing that you're so passionate about?
For me, it's if I wake up more days happy than unhappy. That's honestly the gist of it for me, because I don't think that there's ever the perfect job, right? Even in my own situation, right? I've had a lot of downtimes when I've thought about, why the heck did I do this? Not every day is going to be an amazing day. But if I wake up more days happy and excited about what I'm doing than not, then I think you're on the right path.
I think a lot of creatives in here kind of relate to dabbling in a lot of different art forms. For me, it just happened to be video, but I definitely tried my hand at design or music, things like that, and never really good at, sort of good at some of those things. But I always came back to video as like sort of this was the medium that I could express myself the best. And so, but it took like trying other things and trying different skills to realize that. And I still do that. I still try different things, but I always somehow make it about video. So that's kind of what I do.
So for me, it's about being challenged. I like to wake up every morning with a new challenge. And I've been running the business and doing this, for quite a few years. There's different challenges now than there were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We're constantly adding new things. We're working with so many different personalities in our office. So it's just a different type of challenge that keeps me excited.
Well, I really resonate with that because I also, even today, like to take on many different hobbies and projects that I find fun. I think what I learned is that my life was already demonstrating what I really valued. I was already living and breathing what I really valued. I just didn't realize it. I didn't realize that I wanted to be a leader. I didn't realize that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I had so many people telling me I should do something else. So when you're able to clear your head, as I think a lot of us have talked about, clear your head and really focus on what it is that you want and you desire, I think that becomes clearer. And it's totally cool to just go have fun without any purpose. Play is a very important and undervalued aspect of life that adults don't do enough of. So it's okay to play and just see where it takes you. At the end of the day, I continue to do what I do because doors continue to open. And so for me, that's enough to tell me I am on the right path. But have fun with it. Don't overthink it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. Thank you, panelists, speakers. I'm really glad I came today. And I wanted to just do a quick plug for all the teachers. Some of you have already met me because I've been really eager to network with teachers who are in a career change. I'm doing a creative project around burnt out teachers. It's called Burnt Out Teachers. And so I know most of you aren't teachers, but I'm really eager to network with you. I feel a lot of creative energy around this project. And if you're not a teacher, I'm sure you know a really good person who is or was and is no longer. So come and find me if you could. I've got a lot of resources, and I think this could be a really powerful direction, Caitlin. And Michael, I'd love to give you a card as well to connect with your wife. So I'm sorry this was a personal plug, but that's really all I have.
Actually, we'll allow it. Weirdly, that was fine. Yeah. Does anyone have... I was ready to be mad, but no, you nailed it. That was perfect. Does anybody have an actual question? I'm sorry, I mean, a question. Actual just came out.
Sorry, we have over here. Hi. I was really impressed with the talk today. Thank you very much. I've been in the business of design for a long time. I don't want to show my age, but decades. I'd like to know how you keep that creative inspiration high up. There's a lot of demands in my job, and I do work in a corporate level, but I'd like to have some personal input in it. But sometimes working for a corporate level, they kind of want you to follow the path. So how do you balance that?
So I'm going to tell you what I tell my students. I actually teach a creativity and design thinking course at the University of Michigan, and there's 3 main things. One is to journal in the morning. It's called Morning Pages, and the reason for this, it's actually a book, if anyone's interested, called The Artist's Way. The idea is to just do a brain dump in the morning, get all the things out of our head that we're thinking about. We think about 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. It's astronomical, right? We can't cognitively process all of that. It's impossible. And so when you just journal in the morning, it helps empty out some space to allow creativity to come in. So that's one thing I'd recommend. The second thing is something called artist states. And so the recommendation around artist states is just to have time with yourself once a week. It can be whatever you want, as long as you're by yourself, right? So no distractions, no doing it with your partner, just you being alone with yourself, and then to reflect on that time. What did you feel? What did you learn? It could be playing the guitar, walking, taking a hike in the Arboretum, whatever it is, giving yourself that time for that artist state. And the third thing is to take small steps. So I actually have my students work on a project every single day for the semester. It's called Create 98. So at the very beginning, they come up with a big project idea that they might have, and then they work on it every single day for the entire semester. And they can decide how long it is, 10 minutes, some people will do an hour. But the reason for that is because I think a lot of times we don't start our creative projects because we have such inertia to this idea of, oh my gosh, it's got to be so great, it's got to be so big, and how am I going to find all the time? But in reality, if we just start doing a little bit and chipping away at it, at the end, you end up getting that full project. So I've had students that didn't even know how to play the guitar, bought a guitar for the first day, started learning how to play, and by the end of the semester, he played a Led Zeppelin song in front of the class. Wasn't good, but he played a song, right? He learned how to at least play the notes, right, in 98 days. And he would have never done that if he thought about, oh my gosh, I just have to play a song, that's my end project, and he didn't start chipping away at it. So those are the 3 things I would recommend.
Last call. Question, final question? Early lunch? Early lunch. Would everyone please give these 4 amazing human beings an enormous round of applause?